Really? New school doesn't believe in training camps? Bro, okay. Guys, story time once more. I know this whole video was just me telling stories, but please just listen to one more. And that's kind of like my experience. I know if you guys haven't seen the end of this video. Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome back to another video. Now we might be having some new viewers watching, so let me just introduce myself real quick. I am a former Taekwondo Olympian for Team Canada, and I've been training since I was young. So this channel and all the content involved is just me learning different sports and the history behind it all. So if you guys would like to join the journey, make sure to hit that subscribe button. So with that all out of the way, let's just jump into the video. So today it's going to be a different video. I know we usually break down some legends of the boxing game, but I kind of wanted to take a dive into maybe the training that everyone did, and particularly the old school training. If you guys have any recommendations on dive videos or training videos in both boxing or Muay Thai, put it down in the comments down below, but let's just get right into it.
One question I've often wondered is how old school boxing training compares to modern methods of training.
Okay, it's a comparison between the two.
As time goes on and the sport advances, our training methods become better and more efficient. But is that always the case? In this video, we'll compare old school boxing training versus modern training, and see if we've truly advanced the sport's training methods.
And that's exactly what I would like to know. I've asked it before. How does old school boxing training compare to modern boxing training? I always thought modern boxing should be a lot more technical, refined, and above the olden style. But apparently, after watching so many videos of the legends in the game, I feel like back in the day, it was a lot better, but I'm also not sure. I've only looked at the old days, not the modern days. I want you guys to let me know if you guys agree.
As with new school boxing training, old school training boxing is based all on repetition. Boxing reps are the amount or quantity of motions, punches, sparring rounds, and techniques that a fighter performs. This is by far the best way to train muscle memory and prepare a fighter to fight. The difference is that old school training employed different types of reps than its modern cousin. Fighters from days gone by ran long runs outside in the fresh air to prepare the cardiovascular system for battle, also known as road work. These long runs were used to train the combatant to breathe normally and not hold one's breath or gasp for air.
Oh, dude, otherwise you
Walking and
pass
hiking
out.
also played in part in the old schoolers' conditioning routines.
Dude, I used to train just repetitions, okay? That's all I knew. 6 months of one of the calendar years, it was just repetition kicks. Kick 100 times to the head, 100 times to the body, 100 times spinning, 100 times sliding back and kicking, 100 times clinching, sliding back and kicking. It was literally all repetition, and it was mad crazy conditioning. It was like crazy times, man. Dude, I feel like I had an old school training style. But now let's hear what the modern style seems like.
Run shorter distances and in some cases indoors on a treadmill or elliptical, and mix in high-speed intervals to mimic the conditions.
Okay, so modern was more indoor. Okay.
The old-timers also did intervals during their 10 and 12-mile runs.
But it was all outside.
That included bursts of high-speed running, even though the science regarding interval training had yet to be discovered.
Interesting.
The 5 major
Ahead of their time
exercises for old-school boxers and wrestlers were push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, deep knee bends, and neck bridges used to strengthen the neck.
Mike Tyson.
Equipment used to supplement the 5 basic exercises were the wall-mounted pulley machine, stationary bike with a weighted wheel, medicine balls, and the rowing machine. The use of barbells or heavy weightlifting was highly discouraged, to say the least. But light dumbbells were used while fighters shadowboxed.
Because you didn't want to be too muscular.
The use of old school equipment was to enhance flexibility, muscle suppleness, build strength, and increase muscular endurance. For example, the rowing machine provided functional strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility.
The rowing machine
in its
sucks.
motion. The old school fighter could easily dust off sets of 100 push-ups, 100 deep knee bends, 50 pull-ups, and 100 sit-ups at a time. This type of regimen made a fighter naturally strong for his own body weight.
See, this is why I believe more and more that my training, the way I did it, was so old school. Back when I was training, it was like in 2008, not like 1960s, right? But I still felt like my training was very old school. A lot of repetitions. There wasn't any weight. I just used my body weight, right? We did push-ups. We did runs. Master your own body weight. Understand your body weight. Be as light as possible. And like your movement has to be light and smooth. That's all we practice. Making sure that we can just control our body weight and that we had the strength to like push out of a clinch. That's it.
Increased muscular endurance and produced a fine,
we did skipping. Yo, so many.
In the old days of fighting, it was rare to see a tight, muscle-bounded fighter like we see today. Large muscles tend to be heavy and dense, taxing the cardiovascular system and impeding the speed of a fighter. The fine muscles developed by fighters of old were flexible, strong, and could endure 15 or more rounds of fighting.
Dude.
And per pound punch averages in all weight classes were higher than today's punch averages. To develop power, many fighters, including the Brown Bomber Joe Louis and Gene Tunney, chopped down trees with an axe in lumber camp.
When we were practicing the repetition of each strike, it had to be at like the max power, at the max speed and the highest intensity. Our coach would also say, as we're training and doing like say a set of repetitions with our kicks or a drill, he would make us check our heart rate. And we always try to make sure after every drill and after every kicking exercise, we check our heart rate. And then we have to see, okay, did we reach our max? No, it's only 90%. Okay, then he'll make us do it again. So at one point, a training session of just doing kicking exercises could last 3 hours because he wants to see each thing completed in 100%. It was crazy times, man.
This developed the whole body.
Yeah, we never did weights.
Shoulders.
That's why we never did weights, all body.
Punching. Cutting down trees also gave a fighter a sense of accomplishment and purpose. Not experienced by today's fighters hitting a large rubber tire with a sledgehammer. So it was good for the mind too. New schoolers aren't adverse to lifting weights and in many cases have a weightlifting regime that they follow during training. Old schoolers also conditioned their hands, wrists, and forearms to enhance the punch delivery system and prevent hand injuries. Grip machines were common in some old school fighters' camps. New school training implements and includes plyometrics as an addendum to normal boxing routines to increase power and quickness. Additionally, old schoolers bathed their faces and skin in salt water to toughen the skin and prevent cuts.
Hold up. What? What does that do to the face? Is that why it seems so rough?
Usual suspects are part of both the old school and the new school. Jump rope, speed bags, heavy bags, and double end bags. New schoolers can also use a reflex bag that combines the motions of the speed bag.
My goodness, look at all these gadgets and toys.
And it's good for developing sharp reflexes.
I've never tried that. That looks so fun.
The multi-purpose medicine ball was used by old-timers like punchmits.
I've never used medicine balls either.
Old school and current trainers also pound the stomach, chest, ribs, hips, and thighs and kidneys with this implement to toughen those body parts up.
Yeah, to kind of make sure that you absorb the pain.
To employ punch mitts was Charlie Goldman.
The ways that we actually strengthened ourselves was the exact same way. We would have like a chest protector. We would have to hold it and we would just blast our opponent, right? So anyone who was paired with me was just kind of like, I understand you want to go all out, but like just take it easy on me.
The late 1940s had some foam sewed onto some work gloves so he could teach Rocky Marciano how to punch accurately. The jump rope, as used in earlier days, provided coordination, conditioning,
yeah, man, we used to shadow spar with
the
jump rope.
exception to the standard was Sugar Ray Robinson, who implemented fancy footwork and high-speed jumps to his jump rope.
We did Taekwondo footworks like this.
Today's training uses the jump rope for development of quickness, conditioning, agility, and speed with its many drills. For punching power, Rocky Marciano allegedly punched a 300-pound punching bag while simultaneously doing deep knee bends. Today's fighters have been told that punchers are born, so those with minimal punching power accept this paradigm and do nothing to improve their punching power.
Really?
Jack Dempsey in his book Champion Fighting said that punchers can be made and considered himself a made puncher.
Do you guys believe that? Do you guys believe that punchers can be made? When we were watching Ernie Shavers, his punches, even though he didn't have much of a technique since he started late at 22 years old, he still had that God-given power. He just had to sharpen up the technique and make it a little bit more smoother, I believe. I think that power sometimes is God-given. No matter how much you train or how much you want it, you can't reach someone else's potential of power because their body is able to produce that naturally. For instance, like I believe I had power, but I can't deliver that power if my technique isn't sharpened. That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that you can be the most powerful puncher without having God talent and it's just something made in the lab, or the other way around?
Old school fighters could expect to
sparring now,
best possible sparring partners brought in because their style mimicked that.
So they're brought in by their coach to get the
controlled proper sparring sessions. Old school trainers could evaluate their fighters' strengths and weaknesses and implement techniques to improve on the weaknesses while also developing a fight night ring strategy. Today's fighters when sparring get into too many gym wars, and on fight night they find that they left the fight in the gym, and eventually after so many gym wars they've left their careers in the gym. The old-time fighters prepared comprehensively and fundamentally and stayed in shape between fights. Because they commonly fought once and sometimes twice a month. A short-notice fighter in those days was a dangerous opponent because they stayed ready. Unlike today's short-nosed fighter who may not have fought for a year or so and just accepts the fight for the payday. For the old schooler, training camp was like
Wow.
going back to school to relearn things you already knew.
Wow, okay, so sparring back in the day is you just get the best boxing partner and you're practicing and sharpening your tools. You're doing drills in the sparring match and you're not completely treating it as a main event. And I'm guessing what he's trying to say with the modern era is the egos get a hold of them and they have something to prove. So they have people like coming into the gym and challenging, and then you're not practicing anymore, but you're falling back to what you're comfortable with. Sometimes when you spar, it doesn't matter what their weight or height is, doesn't matter if they're good or bad. You need to treat a sparring match in the gym as an opportunity to just test new things.
The old schooler, training camp was like going back to school to relearn things you already knew. Stay sharp for the payday. For the old schooler, training camp was like going back to school to relearn things you already knew.
Yeah.
Stay sharp on the fundamentals of the sweet science and to always be prepared. For the new schooler, in the modern age of hype and reality TV, if there is no hype, the new school mentality sees no reason or reward for going the extra yard.
Really? New school doesn't believe in training camps? Bro, okay. Guys, story time once more. I know this whole video was just me telling stories, but please, just listen to one more. When I was training Taekwondo, I had a comment asking me how my training sessions were. I was going to school at that time when I was training, so my training was always based around my school schedule. So I would train maybe 3 times during school days. Saturdays and Sundays, we just train 3 times easily. We have a shorter day, but when we had breaks, AKA spring break, summer break, winter break, those breaks aren't breaks. They're actually called spring training camp, summer training camp, winter training camp. Basically, we do basic fundamental training back from square zero, AKA we do every single kick and we do repetitions of 100 each side. We would do something called circuit training. We would have 5 rounds of 6 exercises, and each exercise we did 50, and we would do it 5 rounds. It was insane. It's like 50 burpees, 50 squat jumps, 50 knees up, something that I hated to this day. I have memories of it, and we couldn't show weakness. No hands on the knees, standing straight, not breathing heavy, controlling our breaths, and not showing weakness, not showing pain. You want to hear another kicker? You think I was training alone? Wrong. So we had a girls line and a boys line. The girls line did it together and we had to be in sync. Same thing with the boys line. And what did the coach do? If we were out of sync and we weren't doing it together and there was a weak side, everyone does it again. So what does that turn? Turns into a toxic environment. So guess who was the leader of the boys? That's right. It's your boy, your WOOOOO Olympian, okay? I was the leader of the boys. I was the head honcho in my club. So I made sure that the guys on my team show no weakness as well. But we had to do what we had to do to get by. With that all being said, that would be like my spring break, okay? And when it was winter break, it was just during the cold times. We wouldn't have the heater on. We would make sure that we were cold. I don't know why, I guess to build like that toughness in us that doesn't matter where we are in the world and what the temperature is it too hot, too cold, that we can still be mentally tough. In the summer training camp, Taekwondo is a Korean sport. So that means I went to Korea every summer, sometimes for a month, most of the time for 2 months. It was one of the greatest experiences because I loved the snacks, the ice cream. I'm a big foodie, so Korea to me was basically home. Now, I enjoy the eating, but every time we would train, we would do 4 or 5 sessions. We would do morning runs. We would then go to high schools and universities. They don't have gyms, but usually you would go to a high school or a university because each one has their team, okay? So think of your high school that you went to. That high school has a Taekwondo team and a Taekwondo club. They're represented in tournaments, and you have basically an ego, or you're representative of that school. So when we come into their school, okay, Canadians, they have something to prove. And how, you might ask? Well, when I came to my first Korea training, I was training hard for the full 6 weeks, I believe. And in the last 2, we went to a high school. That high school was known to have the best fighters and to move on to the pro teams in university. With that being said, I didn't know that, and I was just training hard. I felt good. I felt fast, but apparently I struck a threat in that club, and they ended up sparring the second day, having everyone kind of go in. But with me, it was just me and one Korean, their best Korean. Unfortunately, I was very nervous. I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know what was going on. Still no excuses. That was my first time ever getting knocked out. And yes, I got knocked out in training. I got tapped in the chin so quickly. I didn't fall down, but I don't remember anything after that kick. My coach actually put me in after that fight, and I've had another sparring match with someone that I don't remember. But all I do remember is coming back and taking my gear off and everyone telling me how great I did in this sparring match. I'm like, are you kidding me? I just got knocked out. Those are kind of like my stories of training camp, and that's kind of like my experience. I know if you guys haven't seen the end of this video, you might not hear this, but for those who have, thank you for staying to the end of the video. I appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoy these stories. I wonder if you guys want more of these Taekwondo stories and comparisons with these kind of like training videos and diet videos. I would love to see more of that and tell more stories of my experience in Taekwondo, but only if you guys want to. Only if you guys would like to hear it. I don't want to kind of bore you guys with something you guys don't want to hear. I'll be hearing it down in the comments below. That is just like kind of my comparison and my thoughts. I enjoyed watching the old school boxing training and how the modern era is training currently, and tell stories of how I dealt with training. And I believe I did the old school style. I haven't done any modern training so far, but that's it for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe, like the video, and I'm looking forward to hearing and reading all your comments. That's the end of this video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Cheers for now. Peace.